Good evening. My name is Patricia Marquez, and I'm the Dean of the Kroc School of Peace Studies. I want to welcome all of you to this school, and of course, to the Institute for Peace and Justice. And I want to welcome you to this great event that hosts the 2016 Women PeaceMakers. It is an honor to have Jane, Hamsatu, Fatima, and Khurshid at the Kroc School for the next 8 weeks. It is an honor to have these extraordinary peace builders and change makers. It is inspiring to see a full house. And it's even more inspiring that we not only have a full theater, but we have overflow. There are people in other rooms watching and learning from the Women PeaceMakers tonight. I'm also inspired by the students in the audience, students who come from USD as well as other schools and high schools. And now I see some younger ones. Those are probably kindergarten, correct? Definitely mega cool. Thank you. It's also an honor to have all of you community partners who support us in perpetuating the Women PeaceMakers. Groups like the Solidarity Network, which is a new group, the Women PeaceMakers Solidarity Network. If you're interested, please join. The Kroc Society, the Rotary, and many other community partners. Last fall, I said in a TED Talk that the Women PeaceMakers program is an example of a university fulfilling its mission of leading change. For 14 years, this program has supported and amplified voices of those who are often unheard. These are voices of knowledge and wisdom that come alive in our theater and classrooms. The Women PeaceMakers with us tonight push the margins of our understanding of real life beyond the ivory tower in our local communities. But this goes beyond the intellectual. These women push us to feel what is happening in other parts of the world. And we must feel to solve problems, locally and abroad. We must feel if we really want to create change. These extraordinary women teach us what can be accomplished with passion, courage, and commitment. Thank you. And now I want to introduce our new executive director of the Institute for Peace and Justice, Dr. Andrew Bloom. Andy has been with us for 3 months, and we like him so much already that we call him Andy. You can call him Andy too. He's an expert on design, monitoring, and evaluation, and he has worked in programs all over the world, in Kenya, in Turkey, South Sudan, Bolivia, you name it. He has been there trying to assess the impact that we create with our efforts. And this is what he's going to bring together with his team at the Institute for Peace and Justice, understanding what works. How can we learn from programs like the Women PeaceMakers? What can we do? Because the world's hungry for it. And at the same time, as we learn about impact and the work that we do, it gives us hope. It gives us hope that change can happen. It's already happening everywhere in the world. So let's welcome Andy Bloom to the Women PeaceMakers program.
Thank you, Dean Marquez. It really is my pleasure to be here for the 14th annual Women PeaceMakers panel. It's the 14th annual. It's my first, as you heard. I've been here for about 3 months. When I was talking to people about joining the Kroc School of Peace Studies, the Institute for Peace and Justice, almost always the first thing they talked about was the Women PeaceMakers program. And it's not because we don't have many, many other good programs and initiatives at the Kroc School and at the Institute, but there's something powerful about this program. There's something powerful about the women. There's something powerful about the stories. People want to talk about it. Anyone who comes into contact with this program remembers it and wants to talk about it. This has become an internationally recognized, internationally renowned program. We had over 150 applications this year for 4 slots, and that tells you the quality of the women you'll hear here tonight. So for the last 14 years, we've had women like these on campus for this 10-week residential. What do we do here? We really want to do 3 things when they're here. First is to support them, to help them become more effective leaders. We give them space and time to reflect on their work, what's worked, what hasn't. We connect them with each other, with our network, with global leaders, and with folks like you. So when they go back into their communities, they've got new ideas, new strategies, new things to try to create that change in their own communities. We want to learn from them. We have over 50 peacemakers in our alumni network now from 38 countries. We've documented in depth each one of their stories, and that knowledge helps us support women peacemakers around the world. It helps us advocate for the importance of women's leadership in addressing issues of peace and conflict and human rights. And we want to connect them. We want to connect them to our students and to our community. As Dean Marquez said, we're committed at USD to educating a generation of change makers to address the world's most difficult problems. What better way to learn to be a change maker than to learn from women who are creating change, sometimes in the most difficult, most dangerous places. So we want to support them, we want to learn from them, we want to connect them to our community. That's what this program's about. Before I go any farther, I do want to thank some of the organizations and individuals who make this program possible. First and foremost, I want to thank Cigna Healthcare. For 3 years, they've provided core funding for the program. This support is part of Cigna's effort to advance a model of health equity around the world. Cigna believes that when communities are safer, they're more stable, they're more healthy, they're more prosperous. Thanks to Voices of Women, who are providing generous support for the reception you can attend after the event tonight. Voices of Women has partnered with the Institute to launch a new podcast series, Voices of the World. And you've seen it up here, but the mission of Voices of Women is to educate, empower, enlighten all of us by telling the stories of women and creating a platform that amplifies their voices. In addition to these 2 organizations, I do want to thank all of the local donors, large and small, that make this program possible. As Dean Marquez said, if you would like to join our Women Peacemakers Solidarity Network, please speak to one of us or indicate it on your donation, in your donation envelope that's in your program. And please just talk to me if you have questions about it at all. Joining the network provides exclusive opportunities to interact with the Women Peacemakers one-on-one, both while they're here, but then throughout the rest of the year. Without the support of these organizations and individuals, the program would simply not be possible, so thank you. Lastly, I want to introduce the team, my team that makes this possible. Many of you know Jen Freeman, who directs the Women Peacemakers program and also leads our Women Peace and Security initiative at the Institute for Peace and Justice. And our new and our newest team member who has jumped in and is doing an amazing job, Katie Zanoni. She's well known to many of you. She obtained her master's degree from the Kroc School in 2006. She's a returned Peace Corps volunteer from Thailand and has over 15 years of experience in the human rights, peacebuilding, and international development fields. So please join me in welcoming Katie to introduce our 2016 Women Peacemakers.
Thank you, Dr. Blum. I am Andy, sorry. I am deeply honored to stand before you today as the Women PeaceMakers Program Officer. I sat in your seats for the first time in 2005 as a graduate student in the Peace and Justice Studies program. I was deeply moved to hear the firsthand stories of human rights defenders and peacebuilders from across the globe. Founded by Dr. D. Aker and Joyce New, this internationally known program is celebrating 14 years of success with an alumni network of 56 women from 38 countries. Each year, 4 selected women peacemakers share their stories, not only with you at this public forum, but also through innovative podcasts produced by our partners, iVow, narratives written by the Peace Writers, and with current students enrolled in a course called War, Gender, and Peacebuilding, taught by Professor Freeman here at the University of San Diego. In these spaces, civil society members are able to connect the news headlines with the reality of peacebuilders working to lead others toward peaceful solutions at the ground level in their communities. Tonight, we are here to celebrate the work of 4 outstanding women peacemakers from Nigeria, Kenya, Pakistan, and Western Sahara. But before I introduce them, I would like to first recognize our local team who worked closely with them during their 2-month residency. Sue Diaz, if you could please stand up, working with Hamsatu Allamin, Serena Pelka, working with Fatma Mehdi Hassan, Alicia Wright, working with Khurshid Bano, Maggie Thatch Morshed, working with Jane Anyango. In addition, of course, the director of the program, Jennifer Freeman, who will be moderating the question and answer session, as well as IPJ's senior editor and writer who manages the documentation process, Emiko Noma. It is now my privilege to introduce our 2016 Women Peacemakers. Once again, 4 women selected out of 156 applicants from over 30 countries. So you may hear more about their motivations and specific roles in their country's conflicts and peace processes. First, Hamsatu Allamin from Nigeria. Hamsatu Allamin is known to be a trusted negotiator and peacemaker, not only in her native country of Nigeria, but also nationally and internationally. As the regional manager of the Northeast section of the Nigeria Stability and Reconciliation Program, Hamsatu is implementing a project on countering violent extremism. Focused on restoring social norms, challenging the narrative of apathy toward the West, and developing a module for teaching peace in the state of Borno. Hamsatu is also the country representative of the Women Alliance for Security Leadership, of which the IPJ is also a member. A mother herself, Hamsatu was deeply affected by the abduction of schoolgirls from Chibok in 2014 and continues to launch campaigns to fight this and other human rights violations. Next, I would like to invite Fatma Mehdi Hassan from Western Sahara. Fatma was forcibly displaced at the age of 7 and has lived nearly 40 years in a refugee camp in Algeria. Working with the women in the camps to raise the voices of the fellow Saharawi people, she became the president of the National Union of Saharawi Women and is the chair of the Women and Gender Cluster of ECOSOC. This conflict that displaced Fatma and her family is largely forgotten in today's media. Yet, It is one of the longest running territorial disputes on the African continent. If Fatma is not with her writer, you will find her preparing speeches to share virtually with the international community to continue to lobby for the Saharawi people. Our next woman peacemaker, Khurshid Bano from Pakistan. Ms. Bano comes to us this evening from the beautiful province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Finding her way to activism in 1986, Khurshid worked to end discrimination against marginalized groups and became the first woman union leader elected in her province. As the founder of Da Hawarlur, she is an active member of the Pakistan Alliance Against Sexual Harassment and has aided in the implementation of a sexual harassment law, trained 900 community members on gender-based violence, and established the first KP working women union for domestic and factory workers, mobilizing over 300 rural women in 1 year. Over the next few weeks, you may see Khurshid exploring San Diego, as this is the first time she's in the US, and she's very excited to be here. And our final woman peacemaker, I'd like to invite Jane Anyango from Kenya. Ms. Anyango comes to us from Kenya, a grassroots peacebuilder and founder of Polycom Development Project. Jane lives and works in Africa's largest informal settlement called Kibera in Nairobi. In this capacity, Jane supports girls and women to make informed decisions about their lives and encourage them to discover community-based solutions to address their challenges rooted in poverty. Jane was also instrumental in organizing women in Kibera to protest against the violence the world witnessed during the 2007 and 2008 post-election period and galvanized a women-led violence prevention campaign in 2013 called Nena Tenda Amani. Jane has received international attention for her work. When asked what she would like visitors to see in her hometown of Kibera during her guest lecture in the War, Gender, and Peacebuilding course, she simply stated, reality. We are so fortunate to have each of these women here with us today. Please join me in welcoming our first speaker of the evening, Ms. Hamsatu Allamin.
Great, beautiful people of San Diego, I bring you greetings from Borno State. We call it the home of peace, but some people would rather want to call it these days the home of Boko Haram. Nigeria, my country, is located in the western coast of West Africa. In fact, it is being referred to as the giant of Africa is not by coincidence, but it is because it is one of the largest in terms of landmass and the most populous country in Africa with an approximate population of over 2 million people. In fact, it is 1/3 larger than the state of Texas in the United States. That is why we Nigerians always amuse ourselves by saying, when Nigeria sneezes, the whole of Africa catches cold. Yeah, meaning if there is a problem in Nigeria, the whole of Africa will bear the impact. In fact, it is a country of diverse communities with over 200 different ethnic groups speaking different language, but our dominant religion is Islam and Christianity. Coming to where I come from, the northeastern part of Nigeria, which is the largest region in the country, is the most underdeveloped, with high scores in all human development indicators that you can think of, with abject poverty, illiteracy, conflicts, name it. And my state, among the northeastern states, is the largest. And this one state, Borno State, that is in particular, you can see it in red, is bordered by 3 countries. So you can see that the dynamics that fuel conflicts. In fact, if there is a problem in this my state, in fact, it can easily spread to other parts of West Africa, 3 countries, Niger, Cameroon, and then Chad, which border us through these porous borders where people, arms, and drugs can easily be trafficked. My home state, Borno, is the historic gateway of Islam to the West African sub-region as far back as the 5th century, and it is a great center of Islamic education that my people do not have any belief system or culture, but the Arab is Islamic. In fact, to date, to the ordinary man, anything non-Muslim is considered disbelief. That's why there is a deep-rooted apathy to Western education in my area that, in fact, the Western education that came at the same time with Christian missionary is being misconceived to be a system of disbelief. This negative perception was never addressed, and from it emerged the extremist ideology and narrative of Boko Haram that Western education is forbidden, and from it subsequently violent extremism emerged. I told you we are the most underdeveloped, so there is a large army of youth, unemployed, illiterate, who could be manipulated by politicians to be used as political thugs and other criminalities, and then all tagged to be operating under the shadow of Boko Haram. But in fact, generally all these things could be attributed to systems failure, a system with patrimonial politics, poor governance, and institutionalized corruption, which drives the massive stealing from our defense and development budgets. And then all our systems of conflict management and mitigation were rendered ineffective because of this poor governance. Added to this is the marginalization of 80% of the population that comprise of women and youth who are excluded, not considered in any discussion affecting my society. Hence, this Boko Haram violence escalated, leaving us with very, very negative impacts. Some of the impacts, in fact, even the UN figures have put displacement in the Northeast to 2 million people. Out of that 2 million, 1.5 are from my own state alone. Before the abduction of the Chibok girls that made headlines, we have documented cases of over 2,000 women and girls abducted by the insurgents, but never reported in any media. And then the state actors also, in the name of counter-Boko Haram operations, commit a lot of human rights violations and atrocities that in fact aided even growth of the insurgents, because many aggrieved people joined the insurgents to take vengeance on security forces that are seen to commit more violence than even the insurgents. All our social sector were affected. The worst is the educational system, because yes, Western education is considered forbidden. So the first target are schools. In my state, over 1,200 schools were destroyed. In fact, one of the slides on the top is showing a picture of a school that this is a common scene in my area. In fact, a day after the burning of this school, when I went, you can spot the little kids there who went for education but nowhere to sit. So I just captured them loitering around. And under that slide, you can see also the picture of many girls and little boys seated on the floor. This is, can you imagine? This is a classroom where people learn. So all those who are willing to learn, just pack themselves as many as more than 100 in a class and sit on bare floor to learn because all facilities have been destroyed. And our youth also, yes, because of this massive abduction of women and girls, there is, displacement, about the unaccompanied children. We have hundreds of thousands of unaccompanied children. Below the bullet points, you can see pictures of children seated. All these children are unaccompanied without parents, and this is in just only one camp. And we have 17 of these types of camp in my hometown. And our youth volunteers, because the state has failed to protect us from the insurgents, and then the state itself also is perpetrating violence against us, all our youth now became volunteers in defense, taking arms to defend our communities and themselves. So at the extreme end of the slide, you can see the pictures of a crowd. These are all armed youth who, in fact, we consider them as our heroes because they are instrumental to the relative peace that we enjoy in my area. Yes, who am I? Honestly, I am a Kanuri. That is the native language of the Boko Haram insurgents. I am one of them. I was born and brought up in Maiduguri. That is the home base where Boko Haram started and then grew. Professionally, I am an educator, but circumstances turned me to be a peace builder as I watched the violence escalate in my community. Then I was transformed a peace builder, gender activist, human rights defender, and advocate, while at the same time, I do a lot of writing as an author and freelance writer. With my program, that is the program I work for, the Nigeria Stability and Reconciliation Program, I told you our problem is mainly of system failure, so we engage working around security and governance, creating platforms and forums, bringing different state and non-state stakeholders for inclusivity, accountability, and coordination. We also supported the development of Nigeria's National Action Plan for 1325 and support partners to work around mainstreaming the WPS, that is Women, Peace and Security agenda, into our domestic policies and legislations, while at the same time addressing the drivers of conflicts. We cannot do it all, so we just selected only 2 and then worked on them. We also work with media, supported media, undertake a lot of researches whose findings we use as advocacy tools for policymakers, and then share it with international donors to inform programming. At personal level, in fact, I created the network of civil society for peace in my state as voices of the voiceless, so that we could be able to take up issues. In fact, this network is the first to address an international press conference 6 days after abduction of the famous Chibok girl, abduction of Chibok girls, so that, in fact, that gave impetus to the Bring Back Our Girls campaign. I personally have negotiated with state and non-state actors, including the insurgents themselves. I have negotiated to allow the insurgents, to make the insurgents allow access to international donor agencies to reach hard to access hard to reach area to render humanitarian aid assistance. Yes, recently Katie has told you I have developed a counter-narrative of Boko Haram by engaging with Islamic scholars in radio programs and then created also safe spaces. Some of these places, one of these slides is my multi-stakeholder forum engaging with stakeholders. I am also a patron of those crowd of youth you saw who have taken up for self-defense. In fact, I advocate and then solicit for assistance. This is one instance when somebody donated some metal scanners, which they use to detect these suicide bombers in our places of worship. Internationally, I do a lot of advocacy In the middle is is the UN Security Council. You can spot me at the extreme end corner there in green when I address the UN Security Council on sexual violence within our context, in the context of the Northeast during the first year anniversary of abduction. While also in February, I was at the UN again at the Counterterrorism Center and then spoke on responsibility of state in responding and preventing violent extremism. Then the group of women you saw is my international network effort with the Women Alliance for Security Leadership. You can see I'm the only black woman there networking internationally, advocating for Nigeria, and then bringing the situation of women and girls in my country to international attention. My future initiative, I wish to engage with those volunteers, youth volunteers who have taken arms, have known how to operate arms so that they don't become another Boko Haram for us for insurgency. And then I intend to develop a common syllabus for teaching this, for teaching peace in this Islamic school, which are potential grounds for indoctrination. And then also continue engaging with the survivors and all the vulnerable groups. I intend to scale up the good practices. This is me also advocating at higher level with the highest chief in Nigeria, advocating for peace and then alternative approaches. And finally, with my recognition as an international woman peace builder, I have started working to register my own Peacemakers Foundation to consolidate the gains I have started gaining, and I believe many San Diegans would be eager to partner with the Peacemakers Foundation to make a difference in the lives of our people and then contribute to stemming down the spread of violent extremism. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Now I'd like to welcome Ms. Fatma Meheni Hassam from Western Sahara.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace upon you. Western Sahara, as you can see, is a territory which is still waiting for its independence from Morocco. In fact, today, the Fourth Committee of United Nations is discussing today and tomorrow the Western Sahara issue as one of the 17 known self-government territory. Morocco, when invaded Western Sahara, was only military, by the military way. Also, Hassan II has organized the Green March, as they call, to give people jobless, homeless Moroccan citizens and give them lands in Western Sahara. When all this happened, I was only 7 years old. So a large group of my people could escape and go to the desert where we are living to now. We are living now for around 40 years. The wall in Western Sahara, nobody knows about that wall. The wall of Palestine is famous. China, maybe Mexico, many, Berlin, very famous, all of them, but nobody know about the wall in Western Sahara. And it is one of the most dangerous walls. It's a belt, as you can see, surrounded by landmines. And the most important thing that you can see is that this wall, although he was built during the war. But in this peace agreement, there is no mention for this war in any part of the peace agreement process that we have now. And the problem is that also nobody is allowed to visit the occupied territory, because this part into the wall is the occupied territory, and the other part is the liberated territory. So nobody can cross this wall. Even for the international media, they are not allowed. And can you imagine that even Ban Ki-moon, in his last visit, he was not allowed to visit Western Sahara. So you can imagine how our people are living in this part of our occupied territory. This violence and this human rights.
Hi, I'm Carrie Kennedy, president of the Robert F. Kennedy Center for Justice and Human Rights. 2 months ago, I traveled to the Moroccan-occupied areas of Western Sahara with an international human rights delegation. We spoke to hundreds and hundreds of men, women, and little girls who have been imprisoned, tortured, raped, and some of them have had their family members actually killed by the Moroccan occupying forces, the police and the army, simply because they spoke up. This has got to stop.
I am here as an independent citizen. I'm not affiliated with any political group or representing any government. It is our duty as citizens to remind our leaders of their responsibilities when injustice occurs. Almost no one has heard of this abuse because journalists and human rights organizations are not allowed to visit the territory. The denial of human rights of the Sahrawi people is routine. The people of the Western Sahara must be allowed to speak.
La libertad no se regala, se quita.
So this is what is happening in my country, in Western Sahara. That country that I don't know. That country that I have lived when I was only 7 years. And I still not able to go and see and live in this country. When the ceasefire was signed between Polisario, our movement for liberation, and Morocco, we thought that we took victory for granted. We knew that we have our right to return. Our minds, bodies, our souls has written. But can you imagine, since 1991, we're still waiting for that peace, which never came. This is the situation of the Sahrawi people. This is the situation of one of the forgotten struggles in our world. I always say there are types of violence which go unknown, unnamed, such as the violence of having your future put on hold, such as the violence of not being able even to plan a single day of your future. It's very hard. And it's very hard that our people is denied the right of planning a secure future for our children, for our grandchildren, for our people. That's the simple thing that one person, one human can apply for. When the ceasefire was signed and the peace process has started between Morocco and Polisario, we were very happy. People were celebrating that day. It was November 6, 1991. I can't forget that day. We had to participate in that referendum, that referendum which never happened. We had to choose between 3 options. First, to be a Moroccan citizen. Second, to have an autonomy under Morocco system. And the third, to be an independent and free state. Can you imagine that? Because only of that third option, the King of Morocco has rejected the referendum for the Sahrawi people. It's very sad. It's so sad when we think about ourselves. I always say, I don't care about myself. I have already 47 years. But what about my children? What about their children? What about a people who is only fighting for the simple right that can anybody ask for? This is the injustice that is committing against the Sahrawi people. This is my camp. This is the camp where I live since 1975. Here we are living around 200,000 people waiting for that independence. It's very hard and it is very difficult. But you can see this is one of the reasons that made me choose to be a peace builder and a peacemaker. Because I know that behind me, great people, peaceful people, who only world only is defending its right. In our refugee camps are special because yes, we are living in Algerian territory, but we are controlled by the Sahrawi government, not with Algeria. We don't have any link with the Algerian government. And our camp are very organized. And I'm happy to say that women are the backbone of everything in the refugee camps. This is my organization, the National Union of the Sahrawi Women, which was created in 1974. I was a member of this organization. I have been a member for now 27 years and 14 years as a president of this organization. And also, I'm a chair of Women and Gender Cluster of ECOSOC. We have achieved a lot of things, but can you imagine when the ceasefire was signed and we found our men, those brave men who was defending in the military area, when they came back during the ceasefire, we said, wow, this will be a very big danger for us. We were running everything in the camps. We were the queens in the camps. Even the card for access to the international aids. Each woman has a card, and in this card, the owner is myself. So then you can find the names of my children, and then my husband. That is the situation in the camps. So when our men came, we thought that all that things that we have done in the past were nothing, because it was a very important moment when we have learned that all that we have done was a normal thing. The normal thing that all women in the liberation movements had made. In all difficult crises, women were very brave. They always play a very important role. But the problem is that when they get the independence and when the things became normal, so it was like starting a new conflict. That one was between Saharawi and Maroquis, and this one will be between men and women. It was very, very decisive moment for us as women. So we have started thinking about how can we rebuild our strategy. We don't want to lose our power during 16 years of war, during that difficult part of our struggle. So this was a moment when I thought in the urgent need of creating private spaces for us as women, where we can discuss, where we can have skills, where we can think about our future. What will happen with our future? So we start creating centers and making trainings. And I'm so sad having this picture. This is one of our manifestations that we always do to denounce that wall which is dividing our family and our people and killing daily our people. When we were in that manifestation, we were surprised by the explosion of one of the landmines into our gathering. And one of our coordinators had got his foot. So that was a very strong moment, which made me really stronger than ever. So we started preparing ourselves, receiving skills also as the Mayans, as women. We want to clean our land. We have created the international platform for women to destroy that wall. And I'm really very happy because in this platform, we are not only the Sahrawi, we are women from all over the world. Solidarity, women. And thanks to that solidarity, we could create that platform, which is working in all this. You can see also, we could interact with Ban Ki-moon when he came to our camps. And I want to finish. I'm so sorry, really, because the time is very short. I wanted to finish with these pictures. They are pictures of my two daughters. And I'm very happy having them as a result of my work. They are supporting the Sahrawi people. They are working in healthcare and making training with people. I would like to thank you very, very much for allowing me share this experience. But allow me to thank and salute highly this experience, this great idea that this institute, these schools of peace and studies, and this University of San Diego has been working in for now 14 years. Congratulations, and thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Ms. Khurshid Bano from Pakistan.
Assalamu alaikum and Pakhair Ali. I am representing the grassroots level brave women of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Pakistan is a sixth most populous country. We have 4 promise. Ratio of the female is 48 and male is 52. And the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa share a big border of Afghanistan. Khyber Pakhtunkhwa accommodated 26.1 total Afghan refugee in Pakistan. Through this picture, I wanted to show you all that we are not the terrorists. We are the victim and survivor of terrorism. This picture is our school, our mosques, madrasa, church, Imam Barga, bazaar, market, and our house. This question for all of you, many people is considering the Pakistan and Pakhtun are terrorists. If we are terrorists, look this picture and then you answer me. The root of the conflict in Pakistan can be traced to many social political factors: social dispersity, drug smuggling, Afghan refugees, religious accommodation through madrasa, and power political at international level. Pakistan has these conflicts in establishment, have 2 big wars, 1965 and 1971, and other is 1978 Afghan war. Nowadays, Pakistan forces have conducted major operation in Waziristan and Valley of Swat and many other districts. Affected of in conflict between 2008 to 12,456 people were killed and 14,775 were injured. It's only the figure of reported. And more than 100 schools of girls were blown up in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa by Taliban. Women were restricted to their home. 17% of women were affected psychological and physical and forced to migrate to their regions. A large number of women were sexually abused, raped, and forced abortion due to migrate and war. The economy of all the region fell down. The radicalization and religious extremism increased, and the restrictions on the women were more than before. Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is highly conservative and patriarchy society. Many kind of violence the women facing. The 19% of women is facing domestic violence. 74% of women force an early marriage. And in 1 year is 2016, 101,000 women honor killing, the name of honor killing. And 674 cases registered of acid throwing. It's the number of registered cases because Pakistan have only 1% case is registered. My work. When I start my job, in that department, the women workers were not given their basic right with lack of maternity leave, lack of late timing, low wages, sexual harassment, and gender discrimination on peak. I raised my voice against this discrimination and took part in union election. I got selected as first women union leader in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. I have established a group of women with the local and grassroots level movement to involve the political, social, economic, peace building, violence against women, leadership, and unionization. We've established a legal aid center for the legal aid center and work on preventing violence against women. 2008 and 9 conduct peace campaign in KP, train 500 youth from conflict area on peace building and conflict transformation, conduct peace dialogue among the religious scholars at different faith and seats, collaborating with the government to involve women in the peacemaking process. Train 900 individual teacher, student, media person, service provider on gender-based violence and women-related law. Played active role in lobbying, drafting, implementations, and awareness of sexual harassment law. My greatest achievement was the establishment of the platform First KPK Working Women Union, which was first of its kind in KP, advocating for women home-based, domestic, and factory worker. Now we have 300 women union member. Train 75 women home-based worker on the unionization and basic labor law, provide legal, social, and psychological support to the victim of gender-based violence, establish a small vocational center, skill center in the infected area of the village of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. In 1978, Ziaul Haq ruled in Pakistan, and he promoted the sectarianism. So this is increasing in these times. We celebrate the event Diwali and Holi for the first time in the promise of enhancing harmony among different religions. Conduct peace walk with women participation, protesting the bombing of the 100 girls' school in KP. Establish women committee with mother and elder women being the focal person to build peace at home and rural conflict area for communities. Provides psychological support to an internally displaced person in the camps of Banu, Peshawar, and Jalozee, because the 70% the woman is affected in the war. At last, I'm thankful. I say thank you for all of you and IPJ. They give me a great opportunity to share my country, my region, and my work. Thank you very much. Dera Manana.
Thank you, Krishna. I would like to now invite our final speaker, Ms. Jane Anyango from Kenya.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I know your energies are going down after listening to these great women. In Kenya, we have these greetings for young people. They say saseni, and you say power. So maybe you can try that to get a bit of energy. Saseni. Power. Saseni. Power. Do we feel better? Okay, my name is Jane Anyango. I call myself the Grassroots Women's Ambassador. It's a self-given title. If people don't want to give you, give it by yourself, yeah? Okay, so I come from a slum settlement in Nairobi called Kibera. Kenya is in the eastern part of Africa. If you look at the map, it's that map in green. And the capital city of Kenya is Nairobi. So within Nairobi, we have this great slum. It's the biggest slum in sub-Saharan Africa. They estimate our population at 1 million. And it's a very small place. It's smaller than your Balboa Park. Yes, and we are there. So just like any other slum across the globe, there's very high level of poverty, and the living standards are very high. We buy everything, including water. We pay to go to the toilet. Yes, and majority of small businesses are owned by women. They control more than 80% of the population. So that is just a picture of Kibera slums, which is my home. It's very calm. And in Kibera, we smile a lot, yeah? So that is that lady doing her business, and as you can see, she's very happy. So I'll invite you to watch a small video of our living setup in the slums.
With adolescent girls in Kibera under very tough circumstances. Come and show you.
This is the living setup in Kibera. It's a single room. In Kibera, we buy water. You can imagine if a girl is on her menses and there's no money to buy water.
It's as short as that. Yeah, I know most of you are asking yourselves if I'm going back home after living here in Kibera. Yes, I'm going back home. I'm not staying here. I believe in solving a problem from within and not running away from it. So they say Kibera is the heartbeat of Kenya, the heartbeat of Kenya. So we are very important. All Kenyan major tribes live in Kibera, and whenever we have a problem, the entire country is affected. So Kibera was badly affected by the post-election violence that we had in 2007, 2008 as a result of disputed presidential results. So that is how it burnt in Kibera, if you can see the fire. And those are the youth. Young people, we have so many young people who are idle, they don't have jobs. And where there are problems, they go to the streets. So where are we as a nation right now? We are preparing for elections next year. The pictures you are seeing were just the other day. That was in May and June. The opposition were calling for disbandment of the electoral body. And so they were having protests every week on Monday. And on weekdays, the children go to school. So what we are seeing, when chaos starts, the schools are closed, and the children are left to go back home. And as usual, slum children, nobody accompanies them. Everyone is busy. The parents are very busy. Not that we don't love them. We love them so much, but we have other things we're doing, so they take care of themselves. We love them so much, by the way. So that is an international reporter. I think this kid was alone, so he just decided to help that kid. And that is a policeman helped by a common Kenyan, overwhelmed by tear gas. And this is tear gas that is thrown at us, and even inside our houses. Those are scared children, and we have a woman running past fire. So the significance of that picture is that there are young people, the fire is there, and people are not fighting, but this woman is running. She's scared that when the police comes, it's always very bad when they come. When they come, they attack everyone, and it's very bad. So this time they came with their big tanks into the slums, and they sprayed our houses with the poisonous water. So still, if you go into the houses, your nose, you itch in your nose and your eyes, and there are women and children in these houses. These young men are never in the slums. They are never in the houses. So you can imagine, we don't understand why they always attack right inside the slums, because these people are never there. And what have the women done successfully? I've managed to bring the women together. The women have managed to break all the barriers that are there today. You've just seen the barriers that we are having right now. We have a lot of hate speech. There's tribalism. In fact, right now we're even having ethnic divisions, but we're even going into religion divisions. Recently, when we were having these protests, people were killed along religious lines. So the women have managed to break these barriers. We get together as women. During the post-election, immediately after the post-election violence, we created platforms for the women to reflect on their role, your personal role in the post-election violence. Women don't carry weapons, yes, but they incite their men to go out there and fight. So we got the women to reflect on the role they played. We also took back people who had been displaced from their houses, and we took them back by talking to their neighbors when the camps were closed. They came, we actually went to their neighbors, discussed with them, and took them back. The government tried using force, and they were beaten up. We were never beaten by anybody. And these women are still in their houses. We resettled women who were displaced from the other areas. So the women who thought that Kibera was friendly to them, they came to us. We gave them as little as $2, that is 200 Kenya shillings. And they started their small businesses of roasting maize. And I can report that 9 women are still well settled after that. We also organize ourselves when there is a case in court, in support, in solidarity with the survivors. That is the only thing we can offer, our numbers. It's our strength. So we get ourselves together and start by this woman, if the child is defiled. And so our story of solidarity has been documented in a documentary called I Will Not Be Silenced. So what is my weapon? I run this organization called Polycom Development Project. It's about equipping slum women and girls to develop a voice, to influence change on matters that affect their lives. And I use the microphone as my weapon. I talk everywhere, just like I'm talking to you now. And I also go everywhere, whether it's raining or not. So that one, with the umbrella, I was visiting schools, talking to teachers about issues that the children raise. I work with schools, I work with 15 schools. Children share with us through some little boxes called talking boxes. So we raise these issues when we go to schools. So we are working around promoting safety of women and girls in different slum settlements. We have this movement bringing the women together. We believe in inclusion and empowerment leading to meaningful engagement. The women know what they want in the community, and we want to be involved. We want to be engaged meaningfully. We want to be part of decision-making on issues that touch on our lives. I also we pray for support for community-initiated projects. Whatever a problem is, that community is already doing something about it. It may not be adequate, but they are doing something about it. If my shoes are too tight right now, I know what to do about it. You can only help me. But it's always wrong just to come and assume that nothing is happening in that community and come in with everything. We believe that is why there's a lot of money in Kibera. There are so many organizations in Kibera, but there's no impact at all because the community are never engaged. So this time we were lucky to have your ambassador in Kenya with us. He came to celebrate the International Women's Day. And it was such a privilege because they actually looked for us. We didn't look for them. We are so much into the community that it's very hard for people to notice us. So this was a huge achievement to us. So right now we are preparing for elections next year, and we're already organizing ourselves as women just to ensure that we don't have any problems again. So we are using volleyball. The playground is a safe space where people learn and share. It's also an opportunity to bring people together, and it also gets the community to engage with us. On the ground, we also have a lot of fun and have exercises, and we also get people to bring in whatever they want to sell. That is the women. So we are that happy in Kibera. We sing and dance a lot. So if you want a dance or you want me to sing for you, you can say, thank you so much, Asante Nisan.
Thank you so much to all of our 2016 Peacemakers. We don't have much time left, but we would love to take one round of questions if we can keep them brief. And then after the event tonight, we're going to have a reception. So if you have more questions that you'd like to ask Jane, Khurshid, Fatma, or Hamsatu, there will certainly be time outside of the rotunda. So very quickly, we've got 2 mic runners who are willing to come around. If we can put up our hands, I see one up in the corner here. Gabrielle or Daniel, you can turn on the mics as you're walking? Fantastic, thank you. Or I can borrow one. 2.
I have a question for all the speakers. All of you dealt with IDPs, internally displaced peoples, and just to tell you what a project I'm involved with. I am Iraqi. I work with internally displaced people in the north of Iraq, particularly Yazidi, and particularly Yazidi women that were sex slaves. And the biggest problem we have in Iraq is there's no history of mental health facilities. There's only 3 mental health facilities, particularly none in the camp. I noticed some of you, particularly Khurshid, you mentioned smaller vocational centers that kind of developed in the camps that deal with post-sexual violence trauma. Can any of you speak to this? If there are any kind of experiences you can offer to in Iraq? In other words, the state in which we usually expect to provide mental health facilities isn't forthcoming. How have more smaller scale projects worked in your experiences collectively?
Thank you, Ibrahim. One or two more questions, and then we'll turn it over to the peacemakers for responses. I didn't scare you off, did I? Great.
How large of a scale are your projects?
How large of a scale are your projects? Great. Is there one more to add right now? Okay, great, thank you.
I have a question for all of the speakers, and this is reflecting on the role of international community in what they can do to help and what they need to keep in mind in terms of unintended consequences while they are trying to help. So instead of doing a positive thing, we don't end up creating a bigger mess or a bigger problem.
So if I have that correct, we have one question to do with when the state is possibly not forthcoming in supporting, in particular, survivors of trauma. What sort of local initiatives have you been able to do, set up centers which can support, in this case, women survivors of sexual violence? Another question to all of the pieces, so that was to Khurshid and others who work on that issue. The second question was, how large scale are some of your projects? And then we had a third question relating to advice for the international community so that when they engage in conflicts such as yours, they provide more support than detriment to the situation. Is that correct? Okay. Khurshid, would you like to start?
In 2007, when the migrant people come to another region, in the night time, our army announced to go to another region. So the women, most of women pregnant and young girls, when they on the way, they're missing. They're missing, and on the way, many people harassed and raped. And the ratio of the women, 70% come when they come in the camps, they in trauma. And 2014, I have also lived in, spent a 2 weeks with the migrant people in Banu. And they have many problems, but the young women's problem is harassment, harassment and abortions. So the government of Pakistan is, especially Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, in 1978, the 62.1 million, the Afghan refugees come and settle in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So internally, migrant people is more burdened in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So I mentioned the ratio of the many things. So it is only the figure, this only the registered things. Unregistered incident is more than high.
So you created those centers to support those women.
Yeah, we started working with the IDPs and refugees. We going and settle in with the in camps. And this project it is not a project, it's a volunteer work. We have, I am also the grassroots level women, and I know the custom and the tradition of our area. So I am going with my small group to stay there and work about their documentation. Many of women, they haven't their identity card and anything, marriage certificates, so they are not reached to help, and not many men has 3 or 4 women. So they are many complicated to give the help and go to their houses. Many thing is recorded and many problem is not recorded.
Right, so you're working really from the community level, women just being active.
It's not a big project, it's not a financial support. We are working for the community level.
Thank you,
and the people is trust only the community people. So easy, we are easy to approach these people.
So that answers almost in part of question 1 and a little bit of question 3. Hamsatu, I was wondering if you could speak briefly to how you are supporting survivors and the children that are coming out of the insurgency in Boko Haram.
Honestly, the magnitude of the crisis currently is so much that the issue of trauma and others looks very secondary to the state. Okay. So, impact organization like ours, we do an interfaith gathering of religious organization, faith-based organization who go to these camps and then engage with these vulnerable groups on using religious messaging to, in fact, preach to them, and then, in fact, through these preachings, so many have found solace in the traumas and pains that they are going through, both Christians and Muslims. And then for the our message to international community is, honestly, there are so many now in my place. So many international organizations are there. All the UN agencies are there doing a lot of things, but all the same, still, you can see the magnitude of humanitarian crisis generated. And then the impact, you cannot even be able to measure it. So therefore, my advice is for the international community to try to work with grassroots people, organizations, and individuals to actually understand what fuels this kind of angers. While in the name of counterterrorism, both state forces and international forces commit other atrocities that in fact give sympathy even to the cause of the insurgents. So therefore, understanding it, and then those seeking advice for local solution will go a long way, rather than giving military support to governments, corrupt governments that do not have the interests of the people, so that at the end of the day, even the military hardware will end up in the hands of these extremists and then fuel their causes further. And on how big our interventions are, really, with this, with a little support, to design a counter-narrative on Boko Haram, honestly, our initiative by engaging with Islamic scholars, using community radio, speaking on the concept, Western concept of peace building, and then developing a manual to have impact, succeeded in showing the society that really there is no difference between the Western concept and of peace building and education. In fact, they are all compatible with the Islamic principles. So within a short period, we were able to transform the narrative of Boko Haram to Boko Halal. And honestly, and it is winning. Believe you me, we recorded 40% increase of enrollment of children. That's why we have this large number of children packed into one classroom, seated on the ground. We don't have even the facility to accommodate them because the government is overwhelmed by the humanitarian crisis. So maybe let me allow some of my colleagues to.
Thank you, Hamsatu. Fatma, would you like to speak to the size and scope of your interventions? Would you like to speak to the size of your interventions?
I wanted to add also something about the victim of harassment, because these things always happen in situation of war and crisis.
Yeah.
And believe me, this is the worst thing that can happen to a girl or a woman who's a Muslim.
Yeah, we agree.
Because she is also a victim of the culture and of the religion. And this is very, very difficult situation. In my case, at the beginning, people think that they are sick, they are ill. They take them to the hospital, and they go back without any solution. And the problem is that when they go to the hospital, all people will know about them. So many girls, they prefer to stay, they prefer to keep everything inside and not talk with anybody. So our experience is to go there, to go to their tents, their camps, and try to take them not to the hospital, but to our houses, to that center, and try to work with them. We have volunteers who are women also, so we really could get very good results working with these women. We had to work very hard to bring them to our houses. It was like a shame, and the strategy that we are using is that we need to make them brave of all these things. They have to give value to why they were raped, because they were defending the nation. They were defending the people. So they should be proud of themselves and say, I do that because I wanted my voice and the voice of my people to be listened, to be heard. So people can treat them on a different way. So this is the work that we are trying to do with women in my community, in my case.
Thank you, Fatma. Jane, would you like to talk about intervention or support?
So I'll talk about the advice to the international community. My advice to the international community is that you cannot celebrate success in numbers. You cannot talk about 5 toilets constructed in Kibera if you don't talk to Kibera people if they are using them. It's a problem that has been there. Recently, by the way, the government constructed for us some toilets. And the issue of the toilets were raised back in 1992, if I can remember. So since then, we have organizations, we have so many people who have been coming up with these things, but nobody's coming up to ask the people if these things are important to them or not. So if Kibera is still filthy, or if Kiberans are still complaining about toilets, it's because people cannot afford them, not because we don't have the blocks. So if you don't talk to the people, you'll always assume that the blocks are what they need. But the truth is, it's very important to discuss with the people that you're trying to change their lives. It's very, very important to discuss with them the problem and work on the solution together. I'll give you an example. If you come to Kibera today and you find my son without a shirt, and then you go and bring for me a whole suitcase full of shirts, and maybe this kid has a medical condition, if he's having a shirt on, then the body itches, will you have helped me? The full suitcase of shirts will not help the boy, but if we work together, then we can take this boy to the hospital and the boy can be helped. What I'm saying is that discuss and share and strategize with the people that you're trying to change their lives. Don't impose development on the people. Work with the people to get the development. Thank you.
I'm so sorry to wrap it up after only one round of questions, but we have a wonderful reception out the door that was generously sponsored for us by Voices of the World now, the new podcast that has been launched by what was formerly Voices of Women. We're so glad for their partnership. And most of all, we are just so grateful for everybody who's in this room. Thank you so much for taking time out of your evening, supporting these women and the program and all that you do. Thank you very much, and I look forward to speaking with you more outside and all of them. Thank you again.